The city breathed its familiar Friday night rhythm. Neon signs flickered against rain-slicked asphalt, their colors bleeding into puddles that reflected 1,000 fragmented stories. Downtown traffic moved in sluggish waves, brake lights glowing like embers in the humid darkness. The air carried that particular mix of urban exhaustion and electric possibility, the scent of street food carts mingling with diesel fumes and the distant pulse of bass from nightclub doors. Marcus Chen's silver Toyota Camry idled at a red light on Fifth Avenue, dashboard camera blinking its steady green eye. The interior glowed soft blue from the Uber app mounted on his windshield, the gentle ping of notifications creating a rhythm he'd grown accustomed to over 3 years of night driving. His car was immaculate, leather seats conditioned and spotless, air freshener giving off subtle hints of vanilla, a box of tissues in the back seat pocket, bottled water in the cup holders. Small details that earned him his 4.97 star rating. He'd completed 17 rides already that evening. 17 different lives intersecting with his for brief moments, the young couple heading to a concert, giggling with anticipation, the tired nurse ending a double shift, gratefully accepting his offer of silence, the college students pooling to a birthday party, their energy infectious even through his rearview mirror. Each passenger left traces, a thank you, a generous tip, sometimes just the warmth of human connection that made these long nights bearable. The light turned green. Marcus accelerated smoothly, muscle memory guiding him through streets he knew like the lines on his own palms. He'd worked as an engineer before the layoffs, before his daughter's medical bills turned his comfortable middle-class life into a careful balancing act of survival. But he never spoke of that to passengers. He smiled, made small talk when they wanted it, respected silence when they didn't, and drove safely through the night. Dignity, he'd learned, wasn't about what job you held, it was about how you held yourself. His phone chimed. New ride request. 2 miles away. Pick up at the Velvet Room, one of the upscale lounges where the requests were always a gamble. Sometimes you got pleasant professionals ending a business dinner. Sometimes you got something else entirely. The Velvet Room's entrance glowed with pretentious purple lighting, its velvet rope barrier manned by a bouncer who looked through people rather than at them. Marcus pulled to the curb, checking his app. Passenger name, Brandon K. 4.2 rating. He felt that small tightening in his chest, the instinct drivers developed, the way you learn to read the small warnings. A figure stumbled through the lounge doors, and Marcus knew immediately this would be a difficult ride. Brandon Kellerman was everything the night made worse. Mid-30s, expensive suit rumpled and stained, designer watch catching the streetlight as he gestured wildly at nothing. His face was flushed that particular shade of alcoholic red, eyes unfocused and aggressive simultaneously. He lurched toward the Camry, yanking the back door open with unnecessary force. The smell hit Marcus first, bourbon and cologne and sweat, a trinity of excess that filled the car instantly. Brandon threw himself into the back seat, his body language radiating entitlement even in his compromised state. About damn time, Brandon slurred, though Marcus had arrived within 3 minutes of accepting the request. You know how long I've been waiting. Incompetent, all of you people, incompetent. Marcus kept his voice level, professional. Good evening, sir. I'm Marcus. Looks like we're heading to 2247, Riverside Drive. Is that correct? Just drive, Brandon snapped, already scrolling through his phone with clumsy fingers. And turn off this garbage music. There was no music playing. The radio was off. But Marcus had learned not to argue with drunk passengers. He put the car in drive, pulling smoothly into traffic, his dashboard camera recording everything with its unblinking digital eye. For the first few blocks, Brandon muttered into his phone, half-coherent complaints about his ex-wife, his business partners, the bartender who'd apparently had the audacity to suggest he'd had enough. Marcus drove carefully, taking the smoothest route, avoiding potholes and sudden stops that might trigger a drunk passenger's stomach. Then Brandon noticed the camera. What the hell is that? He leaned forward aggressively, jabbing his finger toward the dashboard mount. You recording me? You got no right, no permission. It's for both our safety, sir, Marcus explained calmly, keeping his eyes on the road. Uber actually recommends. I don't give a damn what Uber recommends. Brandon's voice rose sharply. I'm a paying customer. I got rights. You think you can just record people without asking? That's illegal. Violation of privacy. Marcus felt his jaw tighten but kept his tone measured. Sir, you're in a commercial vehicle. The camera is clearly visible, and... Don't sir me. Brandon kicked the back of Marcus's seat hard enough to jolt him forward. You think you're better than me? Huh? Driving your little car, judging everyone. I make more in a week than you make all year, pal. I could buy your whole life. The words landed like physical blows. Marcus's hands gripped the steering wheel tighter, knuckles whitening. He'd heard variations of this speech before, the way certain drunk passengers needed to establish dominance, to remind him of his place in whatever hierarchy existed in their alcohol-soaked minds. But knowing the pattern didn't make it hurt less. I'm just trying to get you home safely, Marcus said quietly. Brandon laughed, a harsh, ugly sound. Home safely. You're a glorified taxi driver. A failure. Bet you got a degree too, right? Bet you thought you'd be something. And now look at you. He leaned forward again, his breath hot and toxic on the back of Marcus's neck. Taking orders from people like me. The streets blurred past, each stoplight a small eternity. Marcus forced himself to breathe steadily, to not react, to maintain the professional mask he'd perfected over countless difficult rides. But inside, something was cracking. Brandon's words burrowed deep, finding the raw places Marcus tried so hard to protect, the shame he carried about his daughter seeing him leave for night shifts, the exhaustion in his wife's eyes when they calculated bills at the kitchen table, the engineering degree gathering dust while he drove strangers through the dark. At a red light on Commerce Street, a group of young professionals waited at the crosswalk. They glanced into the Camry, saw Brandon's aggressive posture, heard his raised voice through the slightly open window. One woman made eye contact with Marcus, her expression registering concern for just a moment. Then the light changed, and they walked on, choosing the safety of non-involvement. Marcus didn't blame them. What could they have done? You listening to me? Brandon demanded, kicking the seat again, harder this time. I'm talking to you. Yes, sir. I hear you. Marcus's voice came out flat, emptied of emotion. It was a survival technique, become nothing, reflect nothing back, wait for it to end. You hear me but you don't respect me. Brandon was working himself into something darker now, his drunk logic spiraling. Nobody respects hard work anymore. You know what I do. What I accomplished. And you just sit there with your attitude, thinking you're too good to respond. Marcus said nothing. Speaking would only feed it. Silence might starve it. The camera recorded everything, its green light steady and impassive. At least there would be evidence. At least the truth would exist somewhere, captured in digital memory, even if nobody acted on it in this moment. They passed a late-night diner where a police cruiser sat in the parking lot, officers visible through the window nursing coffee. Marcus felt a desperate urge to pull in, to ask for help, to escape this situation before it escalated further. But what would he say? A passenger was being verbally abusive? They'd tell him to complete the ride and report it through the app. The system had procedures. The system had forms. The system rarely had immediate relief. Brandon had gone quiet for a moment, and Marcus dared to hope the alcohol was pulling him towards sleep. But it was the wrong kind of quiet, the kind that preceded something worse. Marcus could feel it building, the way you sense a storm before the first thunderclap. My ex-wife, Brandon said suddenly, his voice taking on a maudlin quality, she said I was cruel. Can you believe that? Me. Cruel. He laughed bitterly. I gave her everything. Everything. And she took my kids, took my house, took my his voice cracked, then hardened again with frightening speed. Women are all the same. Users. Liars. Just like everyone else. Everyone's out to. He was spiraling now, his drunken mind connecting dots that didn't exist, building narratives from fragments of rage and hurt and alcohol. Marcus recognized the dangerous territory this represented. Drunk passengers who started talking about their pain often redirected that pain outward, needed a target for all their accumulated anger. Marcus became very still, very careful. He adjusted his rearview mirror slightly, making sure the camera had the best angle. His phone sat in its mount, the Uber app tracking their route in real time. Somewhere, servers recorded this journey, pickup time, location, route, eventual destination. Digital breadcrumbs of a night going wrong. "You married?" Brandon asked abruptly. Marcus hesitated, instinct warring with truth. "Yes, sir." "Yeah." Brandon leaned forward again, his face appearing in the rearview mirror, eyes bloodshot, expression twisted. "Bet she hates you. Bet she's embarrassed. Her husband, the Uber driver. Bet she tells her friends you're between jobs, right? Bet she can't even look at you anymore." Each word was chosen to wound, drunk or not. And they did wound. Because there was truth buried in the cruelty, Marcus had seen that flicker of pain in his wife's eyes when neighbors asked what he did now, had heard the forced brightness in her voice when she called him her night owl, instead of saying he drove for Uber. The GPS announced they were 3 miles from the destination. 3 more miles. Marcus counted them like a prisoner counting days. Just get through it. Just survive it. Just make it to the end. But Brandon wasn't done. He was just getting started. Stop for a moment and think about this scene. Really think about it. Marcus isn't just a character in a story, he's every person who's ever swallowed their dignity to pay their bills. He's your neighbor who lost his career in the recession. He's the parent working 3 jobs so their kid can have medicine. He's the human being reduced to a service, expected to absorb abuse with a smile because the customer is always right, because a bad rating could mean fewer rides tomorrow, because speaking up could mean losing the income that stands between his family and catastrophe. And Brandon? Brandon represents something we've all seen, maybe even been at our worst moments. That toxic combination of alcohol and entitlement and pain that looks for someone powerless to hurt. Someone who can't fight back. Someone whose livelihood depends on their silence. Here's what makes this moment unbearable: Marcus is doing everything right. He's professional. He's calm. He's trying to de-escalate. And none of it matters because Brandon doesn't see him as human, just as a target, an inferior, a service provider who exists to absorb his rage. The people at that crosswalk saw something wrong and kept walking. The police sat in their cruiser 2 blocks away, unreachable. The system that's supposed to protect workers like Marcus operates through apps and reports and reviews, nothing that helps in the moment when abuse is actually happening. We live in a world where everything is recorded but rarely intervened. Where we have cameras capturing every angle but still struggle with the basic act of standing up for each other. That dashboard camera is filming everything, every insult, every threat, every violation of basic human decency. And yet Marcus is still alone in that car, still trapped in a professional prison where he must smile and endure because his daughter needs her medication and the rent is due and pride is a luxury he cannot afford. Think about how many times you've witnessed something like this. Someone being cruel to a waiter, a cashier, a driver. How easy it is to look away. How we tell ourselves it's not our business, that they probably can handle it, that getting involved would just make things awkward. But here's the truth that should make us all uncomfortable: silence is a choice. Inaction is a choice. Every time we witness cruelty and do nothing, we're choosing the comfort of the abuser over the dignity of the victim. So ask yourself, what would you have done at that crosswalk? Would you have been the person who kept walking? Or would you have been something more? Because what happens next in that Camry will test not just Marcus's endurance, but reveal something about the world we've built, and whether anyone is willing to stand up when it matters most. The air in the car changed first. It was subtle, the way Brandon's breathing shifted from aggressive to something more calculating, the sudden absence of his constant commentary creating a vacuum more unsettling than the noise had been. Marcus felt the hairs on the back of his neck rise, that primal warning system that evolution gifted humans for moments exactly like this. They were on Riverside Drive now, just 8 blocks from Brandon's destination. The street here was darker, lined with old oak trees whose branches formed a canopy that blocked out the streetlights. Expensive homes sat back from the road, their windows glowing warmly but distant, unreachable. The neighborhood had that particular wealthy silence, the kind where people paid for privacy and got isolation in return. Marcus's hands were slick on the steering wheel. He wiped his right palm on his jeans, then his left, never taking both hands off the wheel simultaneously. The dashboard camera's green light blinked steadily, its tiny lens capturing everything, storing everything, witnessing everything with digital indifference. Then came the sound. A crack, sharp and sudden, like a gunshot in the confined space of the car. Brandon had punched the window. Not hard enough to break it, but hard enough to make his intentions clear. The glass shuddered, and Marcus flinched involuntarily, the Camry swerving slightly before he corrected. "You think you're smart," Brandon said, and his voice had transformed. The slurring was still there, but underneath it was something colder, more focused. "Recording me. Judging me. You think that camera protects you?" Marcus's mouth went dry. "Sir, we're almost at your destination. Just a few more. Pull over." 2 words. Flat. Final. "Sir, I can't. Pull over." Brandon's fist slammed into the back of Marcus's seat, and this time the impact was savage enough that Marcus felt it in his ribs. "Now. Or I swear to God." Marcus's training said to never stop in an isolated area, to keep driving to the destination or to a public place. But his survival instinct was screaming something different, that Brandon was past reason, past control, that keeping him trapped in this car might be more dangerous than stopping. His hands trembled as he pulled to the curb beneath one of those massive oak trees. The street was empty. No cars passing. No pedestrians. Just the distant glow of porch lights and the absolute indifference of expensive real estate. The engine idled. The camera recorded. Marcus's heart hammered against his ribs so hard he thought it might be visible through his shirt. Brandon was silent for 3 full seconds. Then the back door opened. But he didn't get out. Instead, Brandon's hand shot forward and grabbed Marcus's shoulder, fingers digging in with vicious strength. Marcus tried to pull away, but the seatbelt held him in place, and Brandon was already moving, his other hand reaching for the dashboard camera. Brandon ripped it from its mount with a violent yank, the adhesive pad tearing away with a sound like tearing fabric. He held it up, examined it with drunk deliberation, then threw it into the footwell of the back seat where it landed with a plastic crack. "Now," Brandon said, and his smile was terrible in the rearview mirror, all teeth and malice and the particular cruelty of someone who knew they'd just eliminated the witness. "Now we talk for real. No cameras. No evidence. Just you and me, pal." Marcus's blood turned to ice. The green recording light was gone. The eye that had been watching was blind. In the world of ride-sharing and digital accountability, Brandon had just created a void, a space where anything could happen and nothing could be proven. The dashboard where the camera had been mounted showed just an empty rectangle of darker plastic, a ghost of protection that had been there moments ago. Brandon leaned forward until his breath was hot on Marcus's ear. "You want to know what I think of people like you?" Marcus's mind raced through impossible calculations. He could try to run, but Brandon was between him and freedom, blocking the only exit not trapped by the steering wheel. He could honk the horn, but who would come? Wealthy neighbors who valued privacy over involvement. He could try to fight, but Brandon was younger, larger, and fueled by alcohol-driven rage that felt no pain. The silence stretched. Brandon's hand still gripped Marcus's shoulder, fingers digging deeper, claiming ownership of the moment. Then, light. Bright. White. Flooding through the rear window with such sudden intensity that Brandon jerked back, his hand releasing Marcus as he twisted to see the source. A car had pulled up directly behind them, high beams on, positioned close enough that retreat would be impossible. The light was blinding, deliberate, transforming the dark street into a stage where every movement would be visible. Brandon squinted into the glare, his drunken bravado faltering. What the? A car door opened. Then another. The sounds were crisp in the night air, purposeful. Footsteps approached, not rushed, not hesitant. Measured. Authoritative. Through the mirror, Marcus saw a silhouette emerge from the light. Tall. Broad-shouldered. Moving with the kind of controlled grace that came from training, from certainty, from someone who had walked into worse situations and walked out again. The figure approached Brandon's open door. As he moved out of the direct beam of the headlights, details emerged like a photograph developing in real time. He was perhaps 40, with the kind of face that had seen too much and decided to care anyway. His eyes were sharp and clear, the opposite of Brandon's alcoholic haze. He wore a dark jacket over a simple shirt, jeans, boots built for utility rather than fashion. But it was his presence that struck first, the way he occupied space, commanded it without aggression, made it clear through posture alone that the rules of this encounter had just changed. Behind him, a woman emerged from the passenger side. She was smaller but no less formidable, her phone already out and recording, her expression set with the particular determination of someone who had spent too long watching injustice and had decided tonight would be different. The man stopped at Brandon's door and looked down at him with an expression that held no anger, no judgment, just an absolute clarity about what was about to happen next. Evening, he said, his voice carrying that particular California calm that somehow made every word land harder. I'm Officer David Reeves. Retired LAPD. And this, he gestured to the woman still recording, is my wife, Sarah. Trauma nurse. We were heading home when we noticed your vehicle pulled over. Seemed like someone might need help. Brandon's face went through a rapid series of changes, surprise, calculation, then a desperate attempt at charm. No, officer, I mean, sir, this is just a misunderstanding. My driver and I were just. I saw you rip that camera down, David said quietly. The statement was simple, factual, devastating. I saw you grab him. And I heard you threaten him from half a block away. He paused, letting that sink in. My wife has been recording for the last minute. Our dash cam has been recording since we pulled up. And, he glanced toward a nearby house where a porch light had just turned on, looks like the neighbors are curious too. Sarah moved to the driver's side window, her phone still recording but her face softening as she looked at Marcus. Are you okay, sir? Did he hurt you? Marcus couldn't speak. His throat had closed around too many emotions, relief, residual fear, disbelief that help had actually come, that someone had stopped. He managed a small shake of his head, then a nod, then nothing at all because tears were threatening and he refused to cry in front of Brandon. David's attention never left Brandon. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to get out of this car slowly. You're going to keep your hands visible. And you're going to wait right here while we call the police to file a report for assault and destruction of property. Assault? Brandon's voice pitched higher, the drunk belligerence returning. I didn't assault anyone. I'm the victim here. This driver was. I watched you punch his seat hard enough to move the car, David interrupted, his tone still calm but with steel underneath. I watched you grab him. I watched you destroy his equipment. You want to talk about victims? Look at that man's face and tell me who the victim is. Brandon stumbled out of the car, his legs unsteady, his earlier aggression collapsing into something smaller, more desperate. The street that had been empty and indifferent moments ago now felt populated, David standing like a wall between Brandon and Marcus, Sarah documenting everything with steady hands, porch lights illuminating windows where neighbors watched through curtains. "You don't understand," Brandon said, his voice taking on a wheedling quality. "I've had a rough night. My ex-wife, I'm going through a divorce, and I didn't mean anything. I was just blowing off steam." David's expression didn't change. Blowing off steam on someone who couldn't defend himself without losing his job. Someone who was just trying to get you home safely. He pulled out his own phone. "I'm calling the police now. You can explain your rough night to them." "No, wait," Brandon reached out as if to grab David's arm, then thought better of it when David's eyes sharpened. "Please. I'll pay him. For the camera. For everything. I'll leave a huge tip. Just don't call the cops. I can't, I have a record already. I can't afford another." "You can't afford another assault charge." David finished for him. "Maybe you should have thought about that before you decided to terrorize someone." Sarah had moved around to the driver's door, opening it gently. "Come on," she said softly to Marcus. "Let's get you out of there. You don't need to be trapped in there anymore." Marcus unbuckled his seatbelt with shaking hands and stepped out onto the pavement. His legs felt uncertain, as if the solid ground was an unfamiliar concept. The night air hit his face, cool, real, carrying the scent of jasmine from someone's garden and the distant sound of a dog barking. Sarah positioned herself between Marcus and Brandon, a human shield that was somehow both gentle and immovable. "Did he hit you anywhere? Do you need medical attention?" "No, Marcus's voice came out rough. He cleared his throat. "No, he didn't hit me. Just grabbed my shoulder." "And the camera?" "We saw the camera," Sarah assured him. "We have video of him destroying it. That's vandalism, property damage. Plus assault. Plus whatever else the police want to add when they see our footage and hear what happened before we arrived." David was already speaking into his phone, giving the address, describing the situation with professional precision. Brandon stood nearby, deflating by the second, his drunken bravado replaced by the particular panic of someone realizing their actions had consequences. "I have money," Brandon tried again, directing his plea at Marcus now. "I can pay you $5,000. 10. Whatever you want. Just tell them it was a misunderstanding." Marcus looked at him, really looked at him for the first time since Brandon had entered his car. Saw not the aggressor who had terrorized him, but a broken man drowning in his own toxicity, trying to buy his way out of accountability the same way he'd probably bought his way through life. Part of Marcus felt pity. A small part. But the larger part, the part that was tired of swallowing dignity, tired of being invisible, tired of a system that protected men like Brandon while leaving men like Marcus vulnerable, that part spoke. "No," Marcus said quietly. "I don't want your money." David smiled slightly at that, approval flickering across his features. "Police are on their way. ETA 5 minutes." He looked at Brandon. "I suggest you sit down on that curb and stay very still. You're intoxicated, you're agitated, and I'd hate for you to do something else stupid before they arrive." Brandon opened his mouth to argue, saw the absolute futility in David's eyes, and collapsed onto the curb like a puppet with cut strings. He put his head in his hands, and for a moment he looked almost human again, just another person who'd made terrible choices and was about to pay for them. Sarah guided Marcus a few steps away, giving him space, giving him air. "You did everything right," she said firmly. "Everything. You stayed calm, you tried to de-escalate, you didn't fight back. You survived. And now the truth is going to come out, and he's going to face consequences. Real ones." Marcus nodded, not trusting his voice. Behind them, David retrieved the damaged dashboard camera from the back seat, handling it carefully, preserving evidence. The camera's memory card might be intact. The truth might still be there, waiting to be seen. A siren wailed in the distance, growing closer. The neighbor's porch lights blazed brighter. The empty street had become a witness, finally, to something it could no longer ignore. 2 police cruisers arrived within minutes, their red and blue lights painting the oak trees in alternating shades of authority. 4 officers emerged, 2 older, clearly veterans of countless domestic calls and drunk and disorderlies, 2 younger, still carrying that sharp alertness of those new to the job. David approached them with the relaxed confidence of someone who'd worn the same uniform, who spoke the same language. Marcus watched as he briefed them, gesture by gesture reconstructing what had happened, showing them Sarah's phone footage, explaining the timeline with the kind of detail that turned chaos into evidence. One of the veteran officers, a woman with gray-streaked hair pulled back tight and eyes that had seen every variation of human cruelty, approached Marcus. Her nameplate read, Sergeant Patricia Morales. Mr. Chen. Her voice was professional but not unkind. I'm going to need a statement from you. Take your time. Tell me everything that happened from the moment this passenger entered your vehicle. Marcus told her. All of it. The insults, the threats, the kicks to his seat, the escalating aggression, the moment Brandon ripped down the camera and created that terrible void where anything could have happened. His voice stayed steady through most of it, broke only once when he described the feeling of being trapped, of knowing no one was coming, of understanding that his safety mattered less than a 5-star rating. Sergeant Morales listened without interrupting, taking notes, nodding occasionally. When Marcus finished, she looked him directly in the eyes. You're not the first ride-share driver who's reported this kind of abuse. You won't be the last. But you did something important tonight, you're pressing charges. Too many drivers don't, either because they can't afford to miss work for court dates or because they're scared of retaliation. Your statement, combined with that video evidence, means this man will face real consequences. Behind her, 2 officers were conducting a field sobriety test on Brandon, who was failing spectacularly, unable to walk a straight line, unable to touch his nose, unable to pass any measure of competency. He'd be arrested, charged, taken to the station. His expensive suit wouldn't save him. His wealth wouldn't erase the video. His excuses wouldn't unwind the truth. David returned to Marcus, carrying something in his hands, the dashboard camera, now sealed in a clear evidence bag. Memory cards intact, he said. Everything's there. His threats, his assault, everything. The DA's going to love this case. Clear video, clear audio, witnesses, property damage. This guy's going to plead out or get destroyed in court. Sarah stood beside her husband, her expression softer now that the immediate danger had passed. She reached into her purse and pulled out a business card, plain white, embossed lettering. This is our information, she said, pressing it into Marcus's hand. If you need anything, a witness statement, someone to testify, help navigating the legal system, anything, you call us. Day or night. We meant what we said. We saw what happened, and we're not going to let it disappear. Marcus looked down at the card. David and Sarah Reeves. 2 phone numbers. An email address. A tangible reminder that tonight, someone had stopped. Someone had cared. Someone had chosen to get involved when it would have been easier to drive past, to assume it wasn't their problem, to let the system handle it through apps and algorithms. I don't know how to thank you, Marcus said, and his voice finally broke completely. I thought nobody was going to. Hey. David's hand landed on Marcus's shoulder, the same shoulder Brandon had grabbed, but this touch was different. Steadying. Anchoring. You don't have to thank us for doing what anyone should have done. You thank us by taking care of yourself. By pressing those charges. By not letting him get away with it. Sarah added, and by remembering that what happened tonight wasn't your fault. You didn't deserve it. You didn't provoke it. You were just trying to do your job, and he chose to be a monster. That's on him, not you. One of the younger officers approached with a clipboard, incident report forms that would transform this night into official record. More statements to give, more details to document, the bureaucratic machinery of justice grinding slowly into gear. But before Marcus turned to handle the paperwork, David reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out something else, a small, worn challenge coin, the kind police departments gave to officers for exceptional service. On one side was a shield. On the other, simply, courage is not the absence of fear, but the triumph over it. This was given to me 20 years ago, David said, by a sergeant who taught me that the job wasn't about power, it was about protection. About standing between the vulnerable and the predators. You showed that same courage tonight. You stayed calm. You survived. And now you're seeking justice instead of just trying to forget. He pressed the coin into Marcus's palm, closing Marcus's fingers around it. Keep this. Remind yourself that you're stronger than you think. And that there are still people who give a damn. Marcus stared at the coin, feeling its weight, small, but somehow substantial. A symbol. A promise. A piece of someone else's courage offered freely at a moment when his own had nearly run out. Behind them, officers were loading Brandon into the back of a cruiser, his head down, hands cuffed, the consequence of his choices finally catching up to him. The camera's green light might have been destroyed, but the truth had found another way to survive. The street eventually emptied. The police cruisers pulled away, taking Brandon toward a jail cell and a future that would include court dates, fines, mandatory counseling, and a criminal record that would follow him far longer than his drunken bravado had lasted. The neighbors' lights dimmed one by one as the spectacle concluded and life returned to its private rhythms. David and Sarah stayed until the last officer had taken the last statement, until Marcus had copies of every report number, every case file reference, every piece of documentation that would transform tonight from a nightmare into evidence. Before they left, Sarah hugged Marcus, brief but genuine, the kind of embrace that said, "You matter, you survived, you're not alone." David shook his hand with a grip that conveyed respect, solidarity, the unspoken recognition between two men who understood what it meant to face danger and come through the other side. Then they were gone, their taillights disappearing down Riverside Drive, leaving Marcus standing beside his Camry under those ancient oak trees. The dashboard where the camera had been mounted was still empty, a ghost outline of something that had been there. But in his pocket was a challenge coin. In his phone were contact numbers for people who had proven they would stand as witnesses. And in his car's cloud backup system was footage from before the camera was destroyed, enough to corroborate everything, enough to ensure the truth wouldn't be buried. Marcus sat in his driver's seat for a long moment, not moving, just breathing. His hands had stopped shaking. His heart had returned to its normal rhythm. The adrenaline was fading, leaving behind exhaustion and something else, something that felt almost like strength. He opened the Uber app and ended the ride. 1 star for Brandon. Detailed report of assault, threats, property damage. The algorithm would flag it. Brandon's account would be banned. He'd never terrorize another driver through this platform, at least. A notification pinged. Another ride request. Marcus stared at it for a long moment, his finger hovering over decline. He could go home. Call it a night. Process everything that had happened in the safety of his own space. But his daughter's medicine cost $300 per refill. The rent was due in 8 days. And somewhere in this city was another passenger who needed a ride, another person who might treat him with respect, might say thank you, might remind him that Brandon was the exception, not the rule. Marcus accepted the request. He started the engine. He pulled away from that curb where everything had nearly fallen apart, and he kept driving through the night. Because that's what survivors do. They endure. They persist. They refuse to let the cruelty of others define their worth or determine their path. This story began with a lie, or rather, with the incomplete truth that headlines always tell. Drunk customer attacked Uber driver suggests a simple narrative of villain and victim. But the real story was always more complex. It was about the invisible people who keep our world running, the drivers, the service workers, the caregivers, the ones we rarely see as fully human until something forces us to look. It was about the silent witnesses who choose whether to get involved or keep walking. It was about the system that puts cameras in cars but doesn't put protections in place until after the damage is done. But most importantly, it was about the moment when someone, David, Sarah, maybe you, decides that another person's suffering is worth the inconvenience of getting involved. That justice matters more than privacy. That protecting the vulnerable is worth the risk. Marcus went home that night with a challenge coin in his pocket and proof that sometimes, rarely, the cavalry actually comes. Brandon went to jail with the knowledge that for once, his money and his excuses weren't enough to erase his actions. And somewhere in the digital cloud, servers stored video evidence that the truth, even when attacked, can survive. The cameras revealed the truth. But it was people, flawed, imperfect, but ultimately courageous people, who made sure the truth mattered. So here's the question that matters: when you see injustice happening, when you witness someone being hurt or humiliated or threatened, what will you choose? Will you be the person who keeps walking, who assumes someone else will handle it, who protects your own comfort above another person's safety? Or will you be David and Sarah? Will you be the one who stops, who witnesses, who says, "Not on my watch"? The answer to that question doesn't just determine who you are, it determines what kind of world we all live in. Share your thoughts in the comments. Have you ever witnessed something like this? Did you intervene? And if you didn't, what would make you brave enough to do so next time?